Yes, it is the Tuesday after Labor Day. My favorite time of the year. They're back in school, at least sometime this week they're back in school. Football, you can smell it in the air. And this year, unlike other years, is also really special on a Tuesday after Labor Day because it's moving time for the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. We have legitimate pennant races, and this is the day, Tiki. There's always benchmarks throughout a baseball season. You've got Memorial Day as a benchmark. You got the 4th of July as a benchmark. You have the All-Star Game as a benchmark. You've got the trade deadline as a benchmark. And through all of those benchmarks, you and I and many others would utter, it's a long-ass season.
It is a long-ass season. And only in New York, my friends. But 2 days before the start of the NFL season, are we talking baseball?
Well, you know why? Because this is bleep-cutting time.
Yes, it is.
There is just merely a few weeks left in this season. We got a lot of football to get to today, including a conspiracy on why Bill Belichick is now kissing the ass of the New York Jets, the latest on Hassan Reddick, a lot to do. And we'll also figure out what's on the line when we make our NFL picks throughout this season. But right now for the New York Mets and the New York Yankees, to me it is very simple as we approach this post-Labor Day world. For the New York Mets, and I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want any exceptions. I don't want to hear, well, they got us to Labor Day. They got us to football season. The New York Mets must make the postseason. They have had a wonderfully fun year so far. No one's denying that. They're 10 games above 500 for the first time all year. They've won 5 in a row. But in my humble opinion, and I think in most people's humble opinion, they've got to make the postseason. They've got to seal the deal. And right now, they're there. They're a half game behind Atlanta. They've gained a lot of ground on Arizona and San Diego. So there's a few different avenues to make the postseason. But let's start with that warning to the New York Mets. They've got to make the postseason.
But do you think it's going to be that easy as just saying it? Because the answer is no. I mean, I've been gone for a week. And a week ago when I left, just paying attention as I'm on a plane going 9 hours away to what's happening with the local baseball teams. And what I hear via social media is how dead the Mets are.
They died 12 times this season.
It's over. It's done.
Yes.
They've fallen far behind the Atlanta Braves, which seemingly was their only way into the postseason, was catching the Braves. Forget the Diamondbacks against the Padres, who are just running away, even though they've come a little bit closer. And then I come back a week later, and they're a half a game. By the way, I paid no attention to baseball while I was gone. But I come back a week later, and what do I see? Oh, this dead team is a half a game out of the wild card. This is the problem with you Met fans.
With us.
With you baseball fans.
With us.
Is that you get so, hyperbolic over the littlest thing. It's a long ass season.
But it's
I'm
not.
quoting you from 35 seconds ago.
You're right. But guess what? Now it's not. It's the Tuesday after Labor Day. It's not a long-ass season. There's a few weeks left in the season. The New York Mets have now played 138 games. My math tells me there's only 24 left. That's not a long-ass season.
It's not.
And it's not going to be easy because the Mets have one of the most difficult schedules in baseball, and they've done well facing good teams. And it's not going to be easy because the Atlanta Braves have one of the softest schedules in Major League Baseball. No one's suggesting it's easy. I just want to put out there what I think is the reality for all of us. There's no celebrating a non-playoff season. There's no saying that was fun. Gee golly, I wouldn't have thought this in May. No, they're right there. It's all right in front of them, to quote Aaron Boone. But now you've got to do it. They've got 3.5 weeks to do it. And if they don't do it, and the Mets aren't playing October baseball, I'll be saying it loud and proud. This sucks.
Yeah, but,
I'm not happy with this
but
season.
It will suck, but are you going to be saying it was a disaster? That you're so utterly disappointed in this Mets team because they fell short? Because think of what falling short is. Mm-hmm. Falling short is being behind the league-leading Philadelphia Phillies. It is the Diamondbacks and the Padres who have, give them credit, accelerated when they had to, right? When you get that little stretch where this is our chance to take our run, let's go take our run. And the Braves, who unbelievably are holding on despite all of the injuries that they've had over the course of the season, they're just the Braves. They're a well-run organization. And so falling short of that it can't be disappointing.
Oh, yes, it will.
It will be like, oh man, that stinks. But disappointing,
yes.
like the burn it up,
yes.
right? Get rid of everybody.
I didn't say get rid of everybody.
Move on from the world that put this thing together. I think we can't help but remember what the season was supposed to be.
No. Hold
on. Stop. That has evolved into something else. Obviously, a lot of that is because Francisco Lindor has been utterly spectacular. And all of this hate. I wish all of the haters of Francisco Lindor from 2 years ago till even the beginning of this year will stand up and apologize to that man.
Apologize.
He's and he's been unbelievable. And Buck Showalter said he was unbelievable 2 years ago. Francisco Lindor. We've hated on him so much we've forgotten how great he is.
I was wrong.
That's what it comes down to. Yes, BT definitely was wrong, and so was Sal, I'm sure. But the point is, this team is, I think, overachieved from where the expectation was. Why I'm talking about where the expectation was is because you have to put it in perspective. What do we think that David Stearns was coming in here to do? Well, let's just evaluate this team. I said it 1,000 times. Let's just evaluate this team. Let's see what we got. We're not guaranteeing anything to Pete Alonso. We're getting 1-year contracts on a bunch of players, including J.D. Martinez and Luis Severino. Let's just figure out who the hell we are, Harrison Bader included. Who are we? Who are we? And then over the course of 4 months, certain guys have risen the expectation of this team internally, and they've gotten this close to getting to the postseason. But when you judge this make or break moment getting into the postseason, you have to look at it in context. You have to.
No.
And I know it's going to suck because it's hard for fans to do that because you only live in right now. You only live in where we are in this moment. I am where my feet are. Yeah. Forget the journey that got me here. Because
where my feet are.
I'm just telling you. The journey has been long and arduous for this Mets team.
Long ass journey. Yes.
And there's still what, 3 weeks left? Whatever the heck it is. There's still 24 games left. But it's not finished, obviously, but to be like grossly disappointed if you don't make the postseason, I think it's discounting how good some of these other teams are and how daunting of a grind this was for the New York Mets.
I appreciate everything you said. I really do. I appreciate it. I appreciate thinking back to how we felt in March and how we felt in April and what David Stearns was supposed to do.
Forget it. In March and April, this team was done.
I know.
It's over. I'm not even watching baseball. How many times did you guys say, when are the Jets starting?
I appreciate everything you said, but you're wrong. And here's how I know you're wrong.
Go ahead.
If this team, and I know there's a lot of things that can happen over the next 3.5 weeks. I mean, look at the way this season has gone. The Mets have had such valleys and then peaks and then valleys, and jokingly, but sort of not jokingly, they've been killed off 35 times.
Yes, they have.
Edwin Diaz gives up a grand slam to Corbin Carroll last week. They're done.
I think that's the one that I remember.
Yeah, that's the one.
Everyone is saying, it's over.
I turned on our very own show. The only thing I heard was Chris Big Mac McMonagle saying, the Mets are dead. So I know they've been killed 150 times, and I'm sure there'll be crazy things over the next 3.5 weeks. So obviously the way it ends is going to alter how we feel. But in a world in which as many teams make the playoffs as do now, 6 teams make the playoffs, I'm sorry. With the way they've played, with the year Lindor has had, with how good the starting pitching has been, with Edwin Diaz responding to that Corbin Carroll grand slam by looking like 2022 Edwin Diaz. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. No apologies. They have to make the playoffs. That is my warning to the New York Mets. And by the way, I got a warning for the New York Yankees. And this is not something I thought I would feel, but I honestly feel this way on the Tuesday after Labor Day, the moving day portion of the Major League Baseball season. I have said many times, just make the playoffs. Anything can happen. Mm-hmm. And I stand by that. If the Mets make the playoffs and they are the third wild card team, do they have a shot to knock off the Brewers or the Phillies? Absolutely.
History says yes.
History says they can go on a great run. But I remember in 2022 thinking, boy, the Mets have to win this division. Beningo would say that to you and Tiki all the time. Yeah. You and Tierney all the time. They got to win the division. They didn't win the division. They're in the wild card series. They get knocked out. The New York Yankees, on a lot of levels, and I'll get to all my reasons why, need to win the American League East. They need to. This idea of, well, they don't win the American League East. They're the top wild card team. It's not that big of a deal. They'll play the Twins in the wild card round. Mm-hmm. They'll smoke them. No harm, no foul. I'll give you a myriad of reasons why that's horse crap. while I would warn the Yankees, too, as they sit here so tight with the Orioles, a half game up on Baltimore. It's the same as the Mets. The Mets are a half game behind Atlanta. The Yankees are a half game ahead of Baltimore. Do you realize that in the Aaron Judge era, and let's call it the Aaron Judge era, when the New York Yankees have home field advantage in a postseason series or a postseason game, we'll include the wild card game. Mm-hmm. Do you realize that the New York Yankees have not lost a postseason series? Like, not once. Not once. When the Yankees go into a postseason series in the Aaron Judge era with Game 1 at Yankee Stadium, they win the series. When they go into a postseason series where they're playing Game 1 on the road 3 different times against the Houston Astros,
that was also the Houston Astros.
Fine. They mostly lose. In the 8 series they've played in the Aaron Judge era, they are 2-6 in those said series. And by the way, the 2 series they won, I'll tell you exactly what it was. The Minnesota Twins, which doesn't even count. They're barely a major league franchise.
Daddies.
Back in 2019 in the American League Divisional Series. And the only other time was the Cleveland Guardians in the wild card series of 2020, in which nobody was in the stands. So my point to you is, yeah, in baseball, crazy things happen. But I think when you look at the history of this franchise, not the Yankees as a whole, I'm talking about the Aaron Judge era, home field advantage matters. They haven't had it a lot since 2017. They've been in the division lead a lot for the final few months. The Orioles have also been flawed.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of reasons why winning this division is so important for the New York Yankees, and I think could help dictate how far this team goes.
Right, and it's 2 things with the Yankees. One, they consistently find a way to just do what they have to do to stay where they are. But they're not running away. Either that or the Orioles are not going away. So you give the Orioles credit.
I don't give them credit. I think it's the Yankees not going away. The Orioles have been mediocre for the last 2 months. I think it's the Yankees not taking it by the you-know-what.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's hard to even say that because we think about some of the issues that they've had, the injuries that they've had. I mean, Rizzo just finally came back a couple of games ago. So, like, the issues that have plagued this team were real issues. Hopefully they're getting healthy at the perfect time so that they can make this run and finally start taking steps away from the Baltimore Orioles. But the Orioles are, and I felt this in the very first series that the Yankees and the Orioles played earlier in the year. They weren't scared of the Yankees, right? They came here. They weren't scared of the Yankees. And I said at the time, God, this feels like the Astros, maybe baby Astros. Not in the sense that they had that much talent, but they're just not afraid of the big bad machine that is the Yankees, and it still feels that way. The Orioles are just hanging around. So the only way the Yankees are pulling away is if they become dominant in ways that they haven't been dominant over stretches of time for a lot of the season.
But I tell you why I disagree with you on that. You know, it's funny to think back to different portions of this baseball season. And earlier this season when the Orioles were 43-22 and they were winning a lot of games.
Didn't lose a series to a division opponent, correct? Remember that statistic you gave us?
They went multiple years without losing a series to a divisional opponent. You mentioned their success against the Yankees. Remember when they beat up Luis Gil on that Thursday afternoon? Since that moment, when they beat up Luis Gil on that Thursday afternoon, the Orioles are a sub-500 team, and that goes back multiple months. The Orioles have been no great shakes. The Yankees have failed to take the bull by the horns and win the American League East.
Yeah, but why is that?
I'll tell you why. I think there's a myriad of reasons why. Number one, they haven't beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. I mean, this has been going on now for a month. Like, the Yankees beat good teams, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. I gave out the stat a few weeks ago. Their record against current playoff teams is through the roof. Well, what are they doing against lousy teams? How'd they do against the Washington Nationals?
Yeah, they lost that series.
Yeah, that can't happen. And I know, Sean, you've been complaining about this as a Yankee fan. You don't think they're putting their best lineup forward.
They're not.
And that's a big problem because I don't know if you share the urgency of now that I have, that winning the American League East is a big deal.
Yeah, hell yeah it is, because like you just said, it's not even about winning the division. Winning the division, as we see now with a month left, also means top seed in the whole damn thing. And this Yankee team does have flaws, no matter whether they get hot or not. And I want to play the least amount of playoff games possible, and that matters.
He's right.
With winning a division. Dude, it just does.
He's so right. If you're going to get... It's just
you
a
wouldn't
number.
have said that as a Giant fan.
Probably not.
It's a little different. The Yankees, sure, they can get hot at the right time. It's easier to get hot at the right time when you need to win a few less games to win it all. And also...
Especially when you have home whatever you yeah
Home field advantage. Look, Brian Cashman has said something over the years that really pisses me off. Really pisses me off because it's disingenuous and it's BS. He says, well, the playoffs are a crapshoot. And my counter to that has always been, yeah, but you haven't been on the wrong end of the crapshoot. You lose series you're supposed to lose.
You mean the correct end of the crapshoot?
Well, yeah.
I know what you mean.
When was the last time, and I have the answer for you, and I want you to think about this, Yankee fans, and this is why I do think this is important. I really do think winning this division and finishing with the number 1 seed, it matters. When was the last time the New York Yankees went to the postseason as the number 1 seed in the American League? Home field advantage throughout, team to beat record-wise, not payroll-wise, record-wise. When was the last time? You know the answer?
Tell me 2009.
I was going to say later than that. I want to feel like that was one of those Cliff Lee Texas series.
Yeah, it was 2012. Bang. 2012. Now, think about that. That is predating the Aaron Judge era. That's a different era of New York Yankee baseball. The Aaron Judge era started in 2017. I don't even include 2015, the wild card. I don't include that. That's BS. That was like a fart in the wind year where they made the postseason and they got eliminated quickly by Houston. Since 2017, the New York Yankees have never gone to the postseason with the best record in the American League. And maybe you hear that and say, well, what does that mean? What it means is you just proved you were the best team in the American League over 162. They haven't done that. And they have a chance to do that right now. They are a half game up on the Orioles. They're a game up on Cleveland. They have a month to go in the season. Do it. Go to the postseason as the best team in the American League. And you know what, Brian? If you lose then, I'll, for the first time ever, buy the crapshoot argument. But it's never been valid because you've never been the favorite. You go into every postseason series as a good team hoping to get hot. That's what they've been every year. This is their chance, and it's important. I really believe that, Yankee fans. I don't buy this just make the postseason logic. That may work with the Mets because we're never there. They don't make the playoffs
Right, but it's also where they are in their team history, their current team history.
Yeah.
The Mets aren't one of the dominant teams, even though they've played like it for stretches of this season in Major League Baseball. They're a team that is fighting to get into the postseason. So when you're fighting to get there, it's like, all right, whatever happens, happens. A la 2007 Giants. Whatever happens, happens. We'll make a run.
Right.
We'll go on the road. We'll do whatever we have to do. Whereas the Yankees, you're one of the dominant teams in baseball. You're supposed to get to the postseason and go deep.
And
period.
if you're the 1 seed, you don't see those Houston Astros till the ALCS.
That's a part of
there
it,
you go.
too. That's a big part of it, too.
Stop being scared, man.
I'm not scared. I think the Yankees will beat them.
Stop. That was a scared chicken you-know-what statement.
No. I'm just
not
trying to lay
accepting
out the
that from you,
easiest
Sean.
path.
I'm not accepting that from you, Sean.
I'm trying to be positive, Teak. I just want the easiest
I just
path.
don't want to face the Astros.
Hey, I got to tell you, I'm with them on that. If I'm the Yankees, give me that best record, get me one less round to play, and let me avoid the Astros. We'll get to your calls. I think this is the time of year. This is your last benchmark of a baseball season. And now the moment is in front of us. The New York Mets better make the postseason, and the New York Yankees better win the American League East. Toll-free numbers 888-808-1019. Now, Sean Morach said sometimes the Yankees don't put their best lineup out there. There are a lot of Yankee fans that are very, very upset about the fact that Jason Dominguez is not here. And there's a lot of information out there contradicting each other on why he isn't here. We will give you the definitive, fact-checked reason for why Jason Dominguez is not here right now. But for Met fan and Yankee fans, let's do this. 888-808-1019. A lot of football to get to coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. The return of Posted and Toasted at 3:30.